let me play.
With you guys coming back, I see where it's going to. I appreciate that. Working with Buddy, you know, bundle of energy, pretty opinionated, pretty strong. How is it working with Buddy, and how do all these pieces start to come together?
Well, first of all, it was great working with Buddy, and somebody might have a title, somebody might have a line or two, maybe for a verse or something.
A couple of guitar riffs.
A couple of guitar riffs, or either maybe I might have something written on keyboard musically, and we just kind of present them to each other, and if we all kind of start liking it or whatever, then that's how we do it.
Bowie was
Put it together from there.
I remember Bowie telling me of being with Otis Redding one time. Otis didn't play. He said Otis could sit down and tap his legs and sing him a song, and you could hear every note in the whole thing. Well, Bowie can do the same thing. He hears everything in his head. He could play any instrument he wanted to. He's just not interested in playing. He's a writer. He's into lyrics. But he's fully capable musically, which makes it easy.
Now, how were those days in the studio? Because Buddy had already had some success as a songwriter. So you really, y'all did things very methodical. You hammered things out. You did a lot of takes. You know, some very grueling days. What was it like in the studio then?
I loved it. I mean, it was a lot of hard work. And we're talking not 8 hours a day, maybe 12, 14, 16 hours every time we got together. But it was so intense and so enjoyable. And, you know, the results were there. It was wonderful. It was the best time in my life. I mean, it's the greatest freedom to have that much time, that much freedom in a good studio with good people to hone your craft and, you know, do what you love doing. Gosh, I just can't imagine anything better.
It didn't matter how hard we had to work. It was always fun.
We'd work till we dropped and go home and sleep and come back and do it again. It was total labor of love. It absolutely was.
At that point, is the touring necessary? I mean, was touring the downfall of the band? I mean, I think
No.
studio musicians kind of have a tendency to want to stay close.
Maybe it was, but I don't think so. Do you?
No, I don't think so.
I think it was a culmination of just so much energy expended over such a regular period of time for years. I'm talking years now, about 1978. We had been 8 years at this thing, just as hard as people can go. And you put that together, that much energy and that much time together with the gruel of the road and the headiness of being a star, and people's just, you know, trying to keep their singular lives together. This was more our life than our own families, our own wives and children and stuff. And it just gets to wearing thin on a person after such a long time. I mean, you just wouldn't believe how much time we spent together from 1970 to 1978. All on the hunt, just like this. And you know, after a fashion, you have to have a break. And it started tearing people apart. It wasn't any hatred. It was just people had other things they had to tend to. You know, it's a natural thing, just as natural as it can be. I mean, it happens that way.
Back to the studio. The 77, 78, which album did we leave off at? Did
76 was Rock and Roll Alternative. 77
we didn't do
was
Champagne Jam.
Champagne. Well, actually, that was 78.
Well,
Now, let's leave from Rock and Roll Alternative to the next album up to Champagne Jam, because I want to make sure we mention
Rock and Roll Alternative was the album before Champagne Jam. After that was the Boys from Doorville, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right, pick
Which
up from
one did
Rock
they
and
have?
Roll Alternative. Yeah, what year was Rock and Roll Alternative?
76.
76, yeah.
76.
So when you was released in
yeah.
76.
And that was, at your point, the biggest album for the band.
Yeah, that was the first seller we had. I
Okay,
mean,
pick it up from there, Ron. Rock and Roll Alternative, So Into You was. But
Rock and Roll Alternative, 76, included So Into You, and some other good things. And So Into You, I think, went to, it was in the top 10. It didn't make it #1, but number five in the nation. And we got really busy touring, and probably so busy that it took longer to get the next album out than it ever had before. We did one a year. I think it was a year and a half or almost 2 years after Rock and Roll Alternative that we did Champagne Jam.
'78, Champagne Jam was released.
Champagne Jam was the most defocused album. We had that we were on the point then. Instead of this eclectic, different stuff that we had been doing all along, we were on the point at that time. Champagne Jam wasn't a hit record, but it's an anthem everywhere we go. I mean, it's a hit anyway. People identify us with that. Every time we play it on stage, the crowd goes crazy. It doesn't matter that it didn't go to #1 in the nation. After that is when, I mean, we were traveling 280 days a year.
Underdog was after that.
Underdog, right.
That's
Yeah.
Spooky. And Do It or Die was on Underdog.
Do It or Die, right. The only
Those
hit,
two were hits.
the only hit I ever wrote. Do It or Die, which was birthed in 1974. It was 4 years later that it got on an album and did something. But and then after Underdog was The Boys from Doorville, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which had Homesick and Alien, and
No, that was Quinella.
Quinella was after that, right?
Yeah.
One after that.
It's hard to keep up with all of them. People
I
say,
used to,
What?
you know what?
What album was that song on? So and so.
I used to could tell
I
you,
can't remember what album.
I used to tell you
There's a lot of
the
them.
lineup of each album, and all in order, all 13 or 14 and whatever there were. But I can't remember too much anymore about that.
That's a phenomenal amount of material. I mean, in anybody's book. And there you say again, so many hits. Just so many, so much good material. How do you keep putting out so much good material?
You hope the well don't run dry.
You hope the well don't run dry. That's a good way to put it.
I don't think
You know,
it,
just you gotta.
as long as you enjoy what you're doing, it comes forth, you know. We're still writing good stuff. We got a new album coming out in January. And there's better stuff beyond that. We're really only getting focused again after all this time. The 80s were a period of just maintaining and staying alive and keeping our hand in play. But now everybody's just kind of hungry again and focused again. And there's some good things coming up. I can guarantee you that.
I like that, the hunger. You know, I go out and see a lot of bands, and you know, you may see some bands that you may not think are that good, but there's a spark. And then you start talking to the members, and you can see who's going to get sucked into it and dive and overdose or something like that, or you can see the hunger.
Yeah.
That burning want.
The genuine want. There's a lot of that here. There's a lot of that here. We've lived it. We almost forgot it, put it aside. But then the true nature of the musician's still there, you know. Dean and I have been 25 years.
Yeah, 25.
He's still the greatest. He's still the greatest player. He's the greatest keyboarder and a great writer.
Thank you, Ron.
And he tells me I sing pretty good.
You know, and that's just kind of with the.
I mean, really, we're.
You know, the brotherhood, the camaraderie. You know, the musicians. You know, there really is a love there.
Oh yeah.
And I think with you guys and with Buddy, and you know.
We're
all-
truly best friends. You know, we're lifelong friends, and to be involved with someone for that long, for half your life, over half your life, to be that closely involved in each other's happiness and failures and everything that goes along with it, the ups and downs. I mean, it's pretty tight stuff. And I'm proud, you know, to be able to say I've got a few friends.
By the time Dorville had hit, that's the fourth album. Band still regional, still doing Cooley's ballrooms and places like that.
That's where we broke out of.
Yeah.
What
Well, Well,
And-
Dorville was a national, I mean, it made top 40 Billboard.
But we grew up with Cooley. You know, Cooley became, I think he became a
Cooley.
really, that's when he really became a successful concert promoter. And he promoted the jams and that. Rich Floyd did the Dog Day Rock Fest, which was the
The very first one.
preceded the two Champagne Jams. And we all grew up together. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
the whole thing was planned. It was like people finding each other along the way and coming along and going right there, you know.
Cooley was doing the things at Lake Spivey, you know, Hydra and people like that. Then he grew, and everybody just kind of grew.
Is the performance aspect, I mean, you guys getting out, if y'all would have remained a studio band, would you have had the success that you had? Or is it, you know, the Southern bands, they play and they play and they play. I don't know if they're crazy, or they're just driven or obsessed by it. But I mean, there's just so much, it's night after night after night, you just love it.
I don't think we would have come to be where we are if we'd have stayed in the studio. I mean, there comes a point you have to take matters into your own hands and put it on the line. I mean, otherwise we would have been dependent on record executives and artists having a good day when they were in the studio and that type of thing, and promoters having the right kind of influence. But you know, when you take it to the people, get in their face and stay in their face, that can make all the difference in the world. And that's what we did.
And you take it out too, in huge audiences, big audiences, lots of record sales. And still to this day, it amazes me the volume of radio play that you guys get. And the span and the spectrum, they'll go back to I can't remember a lot from the first album, but certainly the second, third album, you know, right on up to present time. And still, you know, that loyalty, that love, that fan.
Well,
you guys are still out there now.
They're still there. They're still there. We go places now and then, and they'll say, "I didn't know you guys were still around, but we love your group." And I got my first kiss when I heard this song in '77, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's really it's a pretty good thing.
You think that you're from Macon? Dean, where are you from?
I'm originally from Sampson, Alabama.
Go ahead,
Man,
The
I'm gonna have one too.
you want to stop now for a second? Let's take a break. Let's take, no, what we need, I'm just trying to think what elements, because I know where Buddy and JR has said, and I kind of know, getting a good idea what I need from there. Oh, I remember something Buddy was talking about. And sometimes it'll seem like I'm beating something up time and time again, but like I might get one answer from you, and it may be a good answer, but if I ask it again, I may get another answer from you that's a better answer. Or
You know
something that edits well together.
we need to cover this. We need to cover Paul Goddard,
Yes, okay.
and J.R. Cobb, and Robert Nix.
All right.
Those are three things we need to have some good things to say about all three of those guys, because there's a lot to be said about all of them.
Then let's go ahead, well, let's pick it up with that. That's an interesting point.
And Bill Lowry, a little of that.
I think it's definitely say something about Bill.
Oh.
Is it more acoustic?
And the other half, no, it's just the rhythm section. The other half is unplugged versions of So Do You, Imaginary Lover, Bother Me Tonight, Do It or Die, Alien.
You know what would be good? We mentioned this earlier. You asked me how long it would be. I'm talking about half an hour, but if we blew out another hour for another section. And I told Buddy when he first told me about the concept of the unplugged. Remember when Jerry Reed did that live thing at Lowry's place?
Mhm.
I told him what y'all should do is do an unplugged live in the studio and videotape it. It would really make a nice section. You know, I got videotape for you guys in Japan. I got videotape this year and doing nothing. Sorry. You know, getting all these ideas.
That's good ideas, good
Yeah.
ideas.
I talked to Buddy about that. I'm unemployed right now too, so.
Hey,
I call it.
a buck's a buck,
That's right. Especially
especially if it's done well.
if it's done well. I was going to say, especially if it's quality. It's not
Yeah.
exactly what we quality. Now, tell me about I wanted to ask about the concept. Buddy had said that ARS was a concept band, and kind of explain the concept. Was it a concept? Was it, you know, I want these players and this packaged together because we can do this, meaning that there was an end there was something at the end, and then he kind of backed and figured out all the pieces to make the puzzle fit together.
Yeah, it was a concept, absolutely. From the very start, I think it was all an answer to Buddy Bowie's wanting to be a great songwriter. He realized pretty quick that the music business is so, it's tough to make it. You know, there's some great acts out there that put out things every year, year after year, that never get heard. And he wanted he wanted to write something that meant something to people and get it heard. And he knew the way to do it. It was through good musicians, good singers, and engineers and production. And I mean, he's not a novice to the record companies either. He'd go up there and stand on the desk and beat them up. He knew how to make things happen. Buddy Bowie is a well-rounded, he's the only guy that has that kind of knowledge in the business that I know of that I would say remains a real gentleman. He is a class guy. And hopefully that rubbed off on us.
Yeah, I think it did.
I think so.
Dean, you wrote a good bit, and Ryan, you wrote, and you actually had a couple hits in there. Did you write one-on-one with Buddy?
Oh, yeah.
Most of my writing with Buddy was involved with Robert, the drummer at the time. And we had a good run there. We had some pretty good chemistry writing-wise.
Tell you what they did one night. One night in Eufaula, Alabama, they wrote Homesick, Bother Me Tonight, Champagne Jam. Y'all did 3 songs in one night. What was it? Buddy's told me this time and again that the whole thing fell together. Bother Me Tonight.
I wasn't involved with Homesick, right?
So I mean, I know you weren't. Bother Me Tonight, So Do You, and what else?
Wish I had been.
What else? He said y'all did 3.
Imaginary Lover.
Imaginary Lover. My
Leave
God,
that
that's
again,
3.
Ryan. That's a great, because I want to tell you, and tell me that story like that with the 3 titles together.
Buddy told me time and again that y'all sit down in one night and you follow and did Imaginary Lover, Bother Me Tonight, and So Do You. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's pretty strong stuff for one night's work. I mean, that's a career's worth of work. You guys were on a roll. You talking about being on
Yeah.
a roll.
Tell me about Eufaula. That seems to be the haven.
Ooh,
Eufaula's a beautiful lake.
you ought to see
Huge
it. You ought to see it.
And it's just,
It's a trailer, a single wide trailer on a dirt road. And the lake is out here in the front, and a cow pasture that rolls up the hill out the back. And it's just the most peaceful place on earth. It's a wonderful place. Been a lot of hits written in that trailer.
yeah.
A lot of hits.
Get it falling there. Tell me about some of the people that are not there anymore. Tell me about, you said Robert Nix, just mentioned his name. Tell me about Robert Nix.
Let's see, about Robert. Well, Robert is a very talented songwriter, very talented drummer,
Great drummer.
and a very good producer,
And a good person.
and a good person.
He's a loved person. He is so wide open, it's almost hard to be with him. He just smothers you. But he's truly a genuine article.
The most positive person.
He's the most positive person in the world.
And this guy is a positive thinker all the way.
And he had so much to do with ARS's success. There were times when the chemistry would get weird. When it got tense, Robert would settle it all out. He'd just stand up and say, "All right."
Yeah, he was kind of
You
big,
guys,
but-
and everybody just mellow. But what a great drummer. He plays with the greatest groove. He's one of the best drummers I've ever heard. Paul Goddard, bass player, is a unique individual. He's, I think, in the educational system in Gwinnett County now. And one of the best bass players. People ask about Paul everywhere we go.
Wow.
J.R. Cobb, one of the greatest writers and guitar players. And a great singer, nobody knows that. He did some good BGVs with me and the rest of us. J.R.'s playing with the Highwaymen, Willie Nelson, and
Chris Christopherson,
Johnny Cash,
and
and Waylon Jennings.
And he does their sessions too, you know. He does background vocals on all those sessions that he does.
It's just great. I mean,
On top of playing usually acoustic guitar.
I wish
He played on the highway.
I wish that those three and the guy, they're not new, the guys that are playing with us now. Justin Sinker plays bass guitar. He's a wonderful player from Atlanta. Steve Stone took JR's place on rhythm guitar. And R.J. Veely took Robert's place. They're all great players. And maybe someday soon we'll get on stage all together.
You said that the excitement's back now. Last year when you played at Lowry's party, Robert was there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Robert?
No, JR was there.
Roy Yeager was
Ray
there.
Yeager was there.
Yeah.
Yeager's
And JR was there.
JR was there.
Yeager's been a short time with y'all. He wasn't.
Yeah, Roy Yeager's a great drummer. He went to Nashville and was into production, and I think he
built a rehearsal studio.
Rehearsal
type,
studio.
And with a studio for a lot of big names rehearsed there and would record in the studio there, the rehearsals.
Well, the one thing about it is that the original Atlanta Rhythm section were a bunch of people that were really riveted on what they were doing and good pros, you know. And there hadn't been a soul that took somebody's place that wasn't just as riveted and just as pro. And even though there are just three of us originals left playing together, the other three are just as fine as we could ever want to have. I'm proud to be playing with them boys too.
You say in the studio that Buddy could sit down, or you talk about the Otis Redding story, sit down with it. Did a lot of creativity happen in the studio? I mean, did you guys assemble 6 o'clock in the evening? Most
of the creativity was in the studio. That was the thing about it. You know, if you looked at it like who came up with this part and who came up with that part, everyone would be a writer, because that's the way it happened. I mean, Bowie would say, okay, here's the song, and here's the count off. There's that train.
There's that. Right. Is he piano?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. All right. In the studio, what happened in the studio?
Bowie gave more freedom to the musicians, I think, than, I mean, he made them co-writers. When the count-off started and the thing started to unfold, it was the players that dictated what happened, which is why the band is what it is. We're good players. And, I mean, you know, I guess, I don't know how other people work, but I assume that when folks go in the studio, they say, this is count-off, this is the intro, this is the thing, this is the release, the instrumental, the last verse, the vamp. They've got it all figured out, but Bowie did it another way. He used the people he hired to show their expertise, and that's the way we worked. And every lick on every song was sought after the song was finished, and that's the final songs are made by, you know, everyone. Is that a good way to say it?
That's a good way to say it.
Now, did the material,
Exactly right.
Did the material evolve after that? I mean, would you cut a song and then after you play it on stage, you know, night after night, does the material evolve, or do y'all pretty much stick with the original versions or something?
We stay with the originals.
Yeah, we still what we did on the.
We try. There's nothing more irritating than hear someone go on stage and scat the melodies and do all that. I mean, you came to hear what you heard on the radio. You know, when we get to the vamps and stuff, we'll get a little creative, but it's always in the context of what we did before. That's common sense.
Okay, so part of that, well, it is common sense in one sense of the fact some bands would go in and record a song, and it maybe had not been mature, it wasn't ready, but it's on the record.
Well,
and as they spend the time on stage, it starts to evolve.
That's where we differ, see.
They say, well, you guys spent 3 months in the studio.
That's why we did it. We would go time after time, and that count off would go, and we'd do the song, and we'd go back and sleep on it, and then listen to it, and then start it again, and it never was released until it was right. I mean, I won't say that. Yeah, there were some that were released that weren't, but we just didn't have enough time. We would focus on the ones that we thought were most important And but we always took time to back off of it and look at it and go again and again and again. It's the only way a song has a chance, because I mean, if you say this is a good idea and you do it and it's on vinyl or whatever, then it's done, it's over with. You've lost your chance to improve on it. And we never were that kind of band. That was what probably set us apart from the rest of the guys.
I like what you said about the fans. After that, the fans, especially now, Creedence Clearwater Revisited at $35 a pop. What are you giving the fan at that point? I'll at least say for like when I saw you guys with Skinner and the Doobie Brothers, I mean, there was a lot of value to the fan. And the fans, some fans came to see you guys, some fans came to see the Doobies, and some fans came to see Skinner. But I mean, there was a real fan appreciation. I mean, you can't poop on these people all, and they're not going to be your fans anymore. You guys gave a lot. You gave your fans a lot.
Well, they were important.
You know, it ain't what you can get from your fans. It's what you can give them, because they won't be fans if you don't give them something.
That's right.
And we always try.
Yeah, I'm going to try to develop this.
Make them yell for more.
Yeah. Yeah. Leave them wanting more.
Most about the country industry today, it's kind of mechanized motion type of thing, but Nashville, these fan appreciation day, and they really, really, probably the only other entity that does the whole fan thing any better would be NASCAR. But you look at this hungering. When you have a country like America that's just kind of teetering, people are looking for values, they're looking for something. And they certainly aren't the days of the huge album or the stadium shows and things like that. It just didn't quite get it anymore. I mean,
Well, the music business is so fragmented now. It used to be so simple. There was soul music, white music, easy listening. That was it. Now there's 1,500 kinds of music. But those people that bought your records and have memories based on your music and stuff, they come out to the show. All they want is to see what they came for. And if you can give them that plus a little bit more, a little excitement, a little energy, then that satisfies me. I mean, that's what it's about. It's selling your product.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make the best records in the world. If you don't go out there and bust your chops, bust their chops, then you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. And that's where the energy comes in. That's where the love of the whole thing lies. I mean, we made these records 20 years ago, but we're still as good or better than we've ever been. Mm-hmm. Guarantee you.
And you were remarking about the airplay. We still get tremendous amounts of airplay. Some of our songs are 2 million performance songs that were only recorded by us. It's all our 2 million performances, where most songs, even to get to a million category, would normally have been recorded by 2 or 3 other people.
There's something else going on too. We go to places and play outdoor things, especially outdoor things, and families come. And you got people 60, 40, 30, 20, and kids 3 months old, and they're handing the babies up on the stage to you. And the 5-year-olds are standing out there singing the song. That means that it's stuck, It's sticking. It's sticking with people's souls, and they're passing it down through generations. I mean, really, it sounds stupid, but serious business.
It doesn't. It doesn't, because you think like the Carter family, generations. And who said that you have to be 18 years old to rock and roll?
Exactly. Well, I'm a gray-haired guy with a little hair left on top. And I'm just as big a rocker as it ever was, When I get out on stage, it's like a tank attack. That's the way I feel about it. And I think that all the people out there that bought the records and worked their everyday jobs and raise their families. They still got all that in them too, you know. Thank goodness. Nothing really changed. Nothing changes but your age.
We almost hit around this and we'll try to wrap it up. The South, both suburbs, there is no more fertile region in the world for creativity than the South. The musicians, I mean, people, being from Atlanta or from the South, people kind of assume you play guitar. They kind of assume you have this in your blood. Is there anything about the South, or what makes the South such a fertile region for musicians, for the Orbisons, for the Candyman, for this, you know, the ARS, the rhythm section, you know, just, is there anything special about this, about the South? Anything special about Macon, about Atlanta, Georgia?
I think so. I think it's got to do with people in the South being gentle and passionate and romantic.